Happy Friday. Before I get started, I'd like to make a few acknowledgements. I'd like to welcome everybody, President Peterson, honored guests, hostess, host, ANB, ANS, representatives. We're very happy to be able to do what we do at Tribal Assembly. We work hard for our people, and it's something we all enjoy very much. With that, I will call Friday, April 21st meeting to order. I will ask Robert Edwardson, Juneau delegate, to lead us in invocation.
Thank you, Vice President Cook. And if we could stand so we could invoke this last day together in a good way. If you can, or if you choose to. As we meet in this windowless hall on another rare, nice day in Juneau, on this last day of the 88th Tribal Assembly, I ask that we consider who it is that we serve, just as our ancestors considered and worked towards the world that we live in today. A world that they would never see or experience. They did create it, just as we are creating the world our grandchildren's grandchildren will live in. Let us pray to our Creator to give us the strength to be worthy ancestors. We must work together to maintain the foundations of our culture and our relationships with each other, those who came before, and those who will succeed us, so we can create a bright future for us as a people in the future. Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we have the word of the day, and I would like to start with Alfie Price.
Emagenslag in Sipsip and Skoo, this Katnis Newsome. Good morning, my friends. And everybody else too. Ang, I jokes. Luam Godu, the Ayalkanu, the Meshtu, the Kwasam, the Somalia. I'm very fortunate and happy to be able to share, to speak Somalic with you all. I really enjoyed these past few days. So on Wednesday, we talked about to encourage somebody, to tell them that they can do it. And from the crickets I got yesterday, I'm not going to do a pop quiz today, but I'll remind you. So Wednesday, we said, the Ashken Dimwan. And some good job, everyone. And that means you can do it. Then yesterday, we talked about when somebody's doing well and you want to encourage them to keep it up, keep going, Ham Wan. Waiwa, Ham Zubsum. Good job, everybody. Today, now that we've encouraged somebody to get started and to keep it up, we want to tell them they're doing a good job. Earlier I told you Am Zubsum, you're all doing good. That works too, but the one I like to use is Me Willa Walt. Oh, and I hope the T sound is coming through in the microphone. It ends with a T sound. Me Willa Walt. Or if you're from a certain part of the state, it could be Ni Willa Weld. Oh, okay. And this means that's how it's done. That's the way you do it. Ni Willa Weld. Waiwa. Am Dubsum Doix at Newsome. Thank you all. Waiwa.
Thank you, Alvy. Next up, I will ask Robert Edwardson for the Haida word of the day.
Good morning again. So it's been mentioned before that it's the people who show up who make a difference. And I can't imagine a crowd that needs to hear that less. We've all filled out paperwork to be here. We've all ran against other people to be here. And everyone here has sacrificed something to come here. So this group on this side of the rope and on that side of the rope, and the people watching and the people attending online are all part of the people who show up. That being said, I think everybody still needs some encouragement once in a while. So the word that I'm going to say is tlatska. Tlatska. And what that is it means you're a strong mind. Gudnant tlatskada. Gudnant tlatskada. And that means keep a strong mind. It's just encouragement. We're on our last day here, and this is the home stretch, and we have a lot of stuff to get done. So I'm just encouraging you to keep as strong as you have been thus far. Gudnant tlatskada.
Thank you, Mr. Edwardson. Next up, I will ask Shirley Kendall, Anchorage delegate, for the Tlingit word of the day.
A 2 weeks ago, we still like each other, I know that. So the word of the day in Tlingit, is Forest Service still here? I don't want to tell our secrets to him. Our word of the day is, and it's really nice to hear that encouraging words from the other leaders here. But this is something I heard from a lot of us older people here yesterday. So I'm going to teach you how to say, shoot itaak. Shoot itaak. Shoot itaak. It means build the fire so we can get warm. And if you see the workers on the floor and the staff, and we're cold, you can say, shoot itaak. We had a minister that came up here and was among us, and they were learning. He and his wife, she got up early in the morning, and it was cold. Finally, she went to him and said, "Honey, get up and shoot the duck." So if you're thinking, what was the word of the day? It sounds like shoot the duck. Shoot itaak. Shoot itaak. Gunarchish.
How about a round of applause for our language warriors? Off script, the colonial word of the day is united. If we're not united, we will fail. Before I move on to the business, I'd like to ask the people who are elected in their villages to stand and be acknowledged at the IRAs. Newly elected President Edenshaw from Heidelberg, President Williams from Saxman, Frank Wright from Hoona. Thank you guys for your services in your community. Got some housekeeping notes. Somebody turned in a roll of money wrapped in a rubber band. Please come forward and claim the rubber band. I borrowed that from a potlatch in Masset, and it's good to laugh. Last night was pretty serious, so it's good to laugh. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of April 20th, 2023. The minutes were uploaded on your dashboard last night for your review. Veronica Dalton Hoona. Any objection? Mr. Jack.
Thank you. James Jack Sr. from Juneau. On my introducing the budget for yesterday, they had me listed as James Jack. I'd just like to add the senior. Thank you.
Okay, then will be revised. With the revision, unanimous consent, minutes pass. Thank you. Also, I'd like to welcome my assistant, Walter Kukesh. He's here to help me be calm today. So another announcement before we get into some voting. I would like to recognize a very dear friend of mine who will receive an honorary doctorate of law degree from the University of Alaska Fairbanks on May 5th. He supported tribes, people, homelands, and is the warrior for our tribe. Let's give a very, very warm appreciation and recognition to our president, Richard Peterson. Thank you for all you do in Indian country.
Mr. Chairman, I think before we get into our business too, that we ought to take this time to show our thanks and appreciation to Nathan Lopez, who has been providing us with calming, inspirational music. It's always good to see our people be so talented. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Let's give a round of applause for Nathan Lopez. Thank you, Nathan. Next on the agenda will be a motion and a second that was made by Andrew Strobel, Seattle delegate, moved to strike the following phrase, Rule 3, Section 1, provided that no community council shall be allocated less than 2 delegates or more than 25 delegates. I believe we've all had plenty of time to speak yesterday. We will move into the vote. Question? Question's been called?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sanderson?
I just want to make this as clear as possible for this first vote. This first vote is on the amendment to the main motion. A yes vote would mean that we would be striking the language that includes instituting the 25 cap and then the two delegate floor, correct? That's what this vote?
I will
vote is on?
I will ask that question be asked of Ms. Soboloff. I believe you are right. A yes vote would remove the language capping communities at 25 and ensuring two delegates per community.
And as a follow-up, Mr. Chair, this vote wouldn't have any effect on the part of the motion that includes the first amended action to change from 200 to 250, correct? Or no, the other way around, 250 to 200.
That vote will come later.
Thank you.
Staff is currently loading the ballot.
Mr. Chair, can I remind staff that if you see delegates' hands up, it means they need help with the voting?
Thank you, Mr. President. If you need help with voting, signing in, please raise your hand. I have a delegate from Heidelberg who needs a hand. You want to read it? I will now have Valerie Hillman read the ballot and explain the ballot. Name and community, please.
Yes, Mr. What are you, hat are you wearing right now, the moderator?
I'm the chair.
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair. Jackie Peta, Juneau, Alaska,
Thank you.
Juneau Community Council. Yes, when she does that, can you clarify, there's a lot of people asking questions again about what a yes means and what a no means. Thank you.
Yes, I will also ask if there's any further clarification after Ms. Hillman reads the ballot. I will have a clear definition from the chair through Ms. Sobloff.
Okay, on the ballot, it will say, are you in favor of deleting the phrase from Rule 3.1, which would state, provided that no community council shall be allocated less than 2 delegates or no more than 25 delegates?
Mr. Chair, the effect of a yes vote would be to delete the language, there would be no floor and no ceiling for the number of delegates. And Mr. Chair, the effect of a yes vote would be to delete the language that provides for a floor and a ceiling on the number of delegates. The number of delegates would remain only subject to the allocation formula. A yes vote, there would be no floor and no ceiling.
Mr. Chair? We are just now activating the ballot, so if you could refresh your screens.
The effect of a yes vote, Mr. Chair, would be to get rid of the floor and ceiling in the proposed amendments. It would be to get, a yes vote would get rid of the floor and ceiling. A no vote would, a no vote would leave the proposed amendment to include, to have a floor and ceiling. A no vote would ensure, a no vote would leave the proposed floor and ceiling in place.
Mr. Chair? Okay, the ballot is now open.
Thank you, Valerie. Does anybody need help voting? Here in front, Van Gooden. Does anybody watching virtually need help with voting? If so, please use the raise your hand function on your Zoom and we will attend to that. How long do we usually give them?
It's on, I'm just waiting for you. It's on, just waiting for him.
I know, but move it up and down. Okay. No, you're super trained.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Joe Williams, Saxman. I just want to make it clear for me in reference, if we could call for a couple of minute caucus among our delegates here, I'd appreciate that. Give me an opportunity to visit with other communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helms. I will allow a 5-minute period for caucusing. We'll reconvene at 8:33 right now. We can do it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Pata.
It has come to my attention that there was confusion on the ballot, and there's been a request that we reballot because we can't change votes that might have been misunderstood. The only thing that we can do is reballot the whole ballot.
Okay, I will confer with parliamentarian and consider that. We still have 1 minute left in the caucusing. Does anybody need help voting? Can I call back to order, please? Will we please come back to order? There was a motion to ask to reballot due to the confusing nature of the motion. Without objection, we could reballot. Is there any objection of having a reballot? Hearing none, we will move into the same voting with a new ballot. Staff, could you please prepare the vote for a new ballot? We have finished the vote, and the motion presented by Delegate Strobel from Seattle, striking the rule, has failed. Noes were 68, yes was 34. Thank you. The next vote is a motion made by Veronica Dalton, Puna delegate, move to amend both Rule 2(2)B and Rule 3(1) to substitute 200 in place of the proposed 250. That will be the next ballot.
Mr. Chair.
Andrew Strobel, Seattle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andrew Strobel, Seattle delegate. I move to amend the amendment to strike Rule 3, Section 1, or more than 25 delegates, and replace that language with, and community councils larger than 25 could send no more than 25 delegates in person to tribal assembly. The remainder of delegates would be attend virtually.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, to strike Rule 3, Section 1 language of where it states, or more than 25 delegates, and replace that with, and community councils larger than 25 could send no more than 25 delegates in person to tribal assembly. The remainder of delegates would attend virtually.
So you're asking us to amend a motion that we just voted down?
This is a different motion where the delegates that would be seated would actually be delegates, but they would attend virtually tribal assembly versus capping those delegates.
We had just voted that proposition down?
That it is a different motion, Mr. Chair. It is eliminates the cap language in Rule 3, Section 1, and allows the total number of delegates from my community, which would be anywhere, depending on this 20, 200, or 250, to be 29 delegates or 32 delegates. Those 4 or 7 delegates would be seated virtually versus being capped and eliminated.
I second the motion if needed.
Could I get a name and community that seconded the motion?
Juliana Smith, Anchorage Tribes, supporting the larger tribes. Kunishchis.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was already a second from Tassahatch from Anchorage.
Ah, awesome. Kunishchis.
So you want to strike the language that allows the cap at 25 delegates and allow, if you per se have 30 delegates in Seattle, 25 of them will attend Tribal Assembly in Juneau, and the other 5 will be left to attend virtually in Seattle.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
That's your motion in a
Correct.
nutshell?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have captured the language as, we'll share screen. In Rule 3, Mr. Chair, striking the language "or more than 25 delegates" and replacing so that the entire phrase would read, "provided that no community council shall be allocated less than 2 delegates, and community councils with more than 25 delegates could send no more than 25 delegates in person to Tribal Assembly, and the remainder of delegates would attend virtually."
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Strobel. Motion's been moved and seconded. This will have to be a vote, obviously. We'll add it to the agenda. There was a vote already on the floor before you.
Mr. Chair, this is an amendment
I already
to the
have-
amendment of that.
It's the amendment of the motion I just made.
Correct.
So you want to add to the motion.
Correct.
The
Correct.
motion
This
did
is
not occur this language before.
This,
I believe the motion that was made and seconded should be voted on first.
Mr. Chair, this is a subsidiary motion to the underlying motion. It is the preeminent motion on the floor right now.
Yes, the motion on the floor is to amend both Rule 22B and Rule 3-1 to substitute 200 in place of proposed 250. You're wanting to add to that motion
Correct.
to cap, to not have a cap on delegates at 25, but allow 25 to attend in person and the other delegates attend virtually from the proposed locations?
The language there in bolded in yellow is my motion.
Okay.
That is the preeminent mode.
Added to the motion that's already on the floor to vote for.
Correct.
Thank you. We will add that language to the vote.
No, it's going to be separate. This
Okay,
language
we
has
will
to
add
be
the language and we will have a vote on that since it's
Yeah,
been made and
yeah.
seconded. We are still on the First Amendment change of Ms. Dalton.
Yeah, no. this is an amendment to that amendment.
You have to vote this amendment down.
It's a separate amendment to the amendment, so we'll vote on Mr. Strobel's amendment first. Thank you. I will have the staff prepare that vote.
Okay.
Gil Stokes from Anchorage Delegate. This sounds like a strange request, so I would request that we have a 5 or 10 minute caucus. With your honor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. After people have spoken, I will allow the caucus. Thank you.
Thank you.
One note, if you're going to second a motion, please report to a mic. Yelling out on top of people will not be allowed during the session. If you're willing to second a motion, please come to a mic. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sanderson.
Keenan Sanderson, Ketchikan delegate. I also too feel like this is a really odd request. And there's I have a number of reasons why I'm going to be opposing this amendment to the second amendment again to the amended main motion. My main concern, and obviously this doesn't necessarily affect me in my community, but I do have a lot of concern about how the process of who is selected to go in person versus virtually. We're talking about, there's been a lot of heated tension in this room in the past couple of days. Based off of this, I can't even imagine what kind of tension would come from deciding on who gets to come in person, who has to attend virtually. I feel like that's a slippery slope. I understand that we're trying to find an equitable solution for everybody, but I don't feel like this is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. James Jack, Senior, Juneau Delegation. My understanding was that the cap would save money from the budget. If any community elects more than 25 delegates and they attend virtually, they would still be seated and still be paid. So I'm wondering what will we accomplish by an affirmative vote on this amendment? I speak against the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Jack, Senior.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Andrew Strobel, Seattle delegate. I'll speak to my motion as the discussion that that occurred yesterday was largely the cost of the $600,000 allotment towards tribal assembly. We don't really know the figures per delegate or the differential between the two proposals of how much cost savings that we would get per delegate, but a lot of those rely on travel expenses, hotel expenses, the inflation of providing food and meals here at Tribal Assembly. I propose this amendment where, yes, certainly people will still be paid per diem, but these are cost savings and solutions that we are offering to allow our representation to still exist in Seattle. And so I speak to the motion because I think it's important to consider the ramifications of that representation and coming up with solutions to still allow that representation to occur while creating cost savings at the same time. I welcome any community that wants to come up with different solutions to allow those voices to speak, but also to suggest ways to cut figures. The underlying motion underneath this motion is to move from 250 to 200. That greatly increases the number of delegates within our assembly, and that increases the costs. So it'll be interesting when we get to the debate of that motion, because that is a change from the standing rules of election to increase costs associated with this. So I come and speak to this motion to offer solutions for cutting those costs. We've been told that it's virtually that delegates who attend virtually, that the costs associated with that are quite minimal compared to in person. And so that is why I speak to this motion.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I do have a comment online that's been waiting. I will refer to the comment online.
Juliana Smith, the Anchorage tribe, supporting Seattle. Listening to the cost wise, I understand that you want to sort of cap it at 25 because you want to pay the cost of the 25. The ones that are attending virtual from Seattle, it looks like you're looking for cost wise efficiency. I'm willing to give my paycheck from Anchorage to a Seattle. I mean, if that's what works for you. The idea is coming up with solutions that support our larger group from Seattle. We are supporting our smaller group by adding one to all the other smaller villages, but we still need to support our large group. So whatever language that we use for those people that are being online for cost-wise, if you need my paycheck to add another person from Seattle, then do so. Gunesh Cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Morgan Howard, Seattle delegate. I speak in favor of the motion. We've been presented with these changes, and they were said it's on a purely cost basis. So we're addressing the cost basis. It would be a great savings to not have those folks travel, and to address a question about how would we choose them. Seattle functions very well. That would not be an issue. We could easily do it by the most number of votes that we receive. That's one way. We have a very strong, organized community. That's not an issue. We make decisions like that all the time, every day with our organization. Now, if it's not, if it's not a cost basis question, then please let's get that on the floor now. But for all we know, it's a cost issue, and we're addressing that, the cost.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think we're out of order. We had voted on the amendment. Now we're back to my, I don't think that, I think we needed to take care of my amendment first, and then if they were supposed to come in.
So clarification from the
That's what I'm asking
parliamentarian
is for clarification on that.
Clarification is that Andrew made an amendment to your motion, which is allowable. It definitely has muddied your motion, but that is allowed in.
So now we're going to vote on the amendment to my,
We will vote on the amendment Seattle delegation Strobel has put forth. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Catherine Edwards, Seattle delegate.
Yes, Ms. Edwards.
I'm speaking in favor of the amendment that Mr. Strobel put forward, and he used the word per diem. It's not per diem that would be paid to the people that are staying at home virtually and attending online. It would be the stipend, the daily stipend. And if we grow by 5, that's 250 times 3 days. It is a significant cost saving, about $3,000, $5,000 out of the total of the $600,000. I think it's put forth in good faith in trying to hear that we are trying to be sustainable and reduce the cost. It would not include per diem. And as Mr. Howard said, we are very organized, and we've already probably come up with some solutions about how we will deal with this, since we are the largest community, or probably growing to be the largest, to make this work for us at home. There wouldn't be any kind of strife or grief. We do work those things out. We're much like Jackie with consensus and building consensus. That wouldn't be difficult for us to do. And I would volunteer to stay at home and be virtual. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Chair.
I will now,
Mr. Chairman, James Jack Senior, Juneau. Would someone please explain to me how we just voted to cap 25 and the lower end would be 2? Now, how can we do another vote immediately after eliminating that cap? Thank you.
we did vote to cap the delegates at 25, and we did vote to allow every community 2 delegates. The next amendment we were voting on was a number to possibly gain more delegates if your number rises in different communities. And the cap would still remain at 25 no matter what number you had. I agree, when I first heard the motion, I thought it was out of order, but it's not out of order, ruled by the parliamentarian. We are going to vote on that. I will allow Ms. Delphine, if you could announce your name and where you're from. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Daphne Albee, Seattle delegate. We have not voted on whether or not to cap and to add another. We voted on the amendment. We still have the main motion to vote on. That will be the deciding factor. However, if this is truly about finances, we have proposed an option that will take care of that. We've been saying Seattle, but it's not just Seattle. For any community that is over 25 delegates, and our communities are growing. So this is an option if this is truly addressing finances. If it is not addressing finances, we have a whole nother issue to deal with. But this is a wonderful, this is a good option for communities that are larger than 25. It'll take care of the finances, it'll save the tribe funds. So I speak in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now allow a caucus of 10 minutes. We will be back at 9:12. 9:12. We are caucusing. We are asked for a caucus on the change to the amendment
We're going to meet by you.
from the Seattle delegation.
Madam Chair, or excuse me, Sir Chair. Is that a dollar fine?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. There are a few delegations that are still waiting for the delegates to return. If we could wait for them to come into the room so they could vote also, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And another housekeeping, if you do come to the mic, please state your name and where you're from for the record, please. Thank you. I will have Ms. Hillman read the ballot.
Okay, the ballot reads as, are you in favor of removing the proposed cap on delegate in Rule 3.1, instead of provide that any duly allocated delegate that exceeds the limit 25 in person participate and attend virtually?
One other item, I did not recognize Mr. Frank Wright as the tribal president in Hoonah. Has everybody voted? And does anybody need help voting? We have one virtual still waiting. Okay, I got word from the back of the room that they're still helping the delegate online. After this vote, we will go into a brief recess, and then we'll continue on with the other votes of the day. The votes have been tallied. No 64, yes 39. Motion from Seattle fails. We will now take a brief 10-minute recess so we can use the facilities and grab some water and take a short break. We'll be back 9:32. Thank you. The delegates, if we are in a voting session, please stay on the floor and do not leave the area of the floor. Thank you. Next up, the vote is the change to the First Amendment. Motion made by Veronica Dalton, Hoona delegate. Move to amend both Rule 2.2b and Rule 3.1 to substitute 200 in place of the proposed 250.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strobel.
I have another, excuse me, I have an amendment to the amendment to make. I motion to amend Rule 3, Section 1 to strike the word "to," replace with "3," and to strike the language "or more than 25 delegates."
Tasha Hodge Inkridge, second.
I know.
Mr. Strobel, could you please reread your amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It is to, on Rule 3, Section 1, to strike the word "to" before 2 delegates, replace it with 3, and to strike "or more than 25 delegates."
The Rule 3.1 to strike 2 delegates to 3 minimum?
Correct.
And to strike no more than 25? Do you realize we just voted this down twice?
This is a line amendment, Mr. Chair. That has different ramifications than the previous amendment. I could seek the parliamentarians' inquiry for this amendment.
I will seek the parliamentarian. Thank you.
Yeah. This amendment would provide minimum representation for villages and removing the cap, simply put.
Okay, you've had the privilege of the floor. I was conferring with the parliamentarian. You spoke over me. Could you please hold your peace until I'm done with the parliamentarian?
Yes.
Thank you. There's been a motion by Andrew Strobel of Seattle, seconded by Tasha Hotch of Anchorage, striking Rule 3-1 from number 2 and adding number 3. Also striking no more than 25 delegates. This ruling from the parliamentarian has been issued. It is a valid amendment. And we will vote once again on your amendment. Thank you.
May I speak to my amendment, Mr. Chair?
I believe you already have, but yes, I will limit you to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After conferring with the Small Communities Caucus, there was a lot of discussion related around representation and what is considered fair and equal representation. As part of that discussion, I proposed this amendment to provide the small villages additional representation without incurring or limiting large communities' representation. The purpose of this amendment largely is, we found in the last amendment is really not an issue based off of exactly the finances of this situation. I believe this is a proper stopgap measure before we limit the voices of potential delegates from my community to participate in what might be the final solution that would happen at a later date. Those are 4 voices that would not be able to participate based, that if they don't get to participate, we believe that is an unfair application of trying to come up with a solution. In this situation, there's more representation for small communities. Seattle delegation remains intact and not capped, and we can have this discussion at a later date.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Joe Williams, Saxman. I think that all that's been discussed this morning is catching us, a lot of us, flat-footed on what the discussion is entailing. And I don't believe that was the intent of our president. Therefore, I think that amendments will continue and continue and continue. And in my mind, I believe that a committee should be appointed to address this of its entirety as far as the election process is concerned, and including the, amending the Constitution. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table this indefinitely until that committee comes back at the next scheduled annual meeting to give their report. That is my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Morgan Howard, Seattle delegate.
There's a motion on the floor.
I was going to second.
If you're going to second the motion, would you please come to the mic and announce your name and your community, please, for the record? Thank you.
Cecilia Tavalero, Seattle delegate. I second that motion.
Thank you. There's been a motion made and seconded to table the rules of election until the further date. This will also be a vote. I will have the staff prepare the vote to table the rules of election until the following, I believe, non-election year tribal assembly.
Mr. Chairman, James Jack Senior, Juneau Delegation, I request a 10-minute caucus. 5-minute caucus.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. I will allow a 5-minute caucus reconvening at 9:48. And I will remind the members in the audience, you are not allowed in caucus. Thank you. We will now have the staff prepare the ballot to vote to table the rules of election. Since this is a second tabling of the rules of election, it will require a supermajority to pass. The ballot is now open for voting. No 65, yes 36. Motion to table has failed. The next vote,
Mr. Chair,
Jackie.
I would like to move the previous question and its amendments. What that means is that when I get a second, that we will deal with the question of the day that's on the table with no debate and just to move forward for a vote. Do I have a second?
Ben Cornell, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue with the votes at hand with no more further amendments.
Well, no. So I'm moving that we move the question forward. And to move the question forward with the second, it will require that we have a 2/3 vote to adopt, to move forward. Trying to get the orders of the day moving is what I'm trying to do.
So this was, we did vote no. The
Right.
motion failed
Right.
to table the rules of elections, meaning we will
Right.
continue until they are finished.
That means that if this motion that I made passes, we will deal with the question that's on the table that's been without further amendments.
Okay,
Did I say that clear enough?
no. But I have a helper right
But
here.
Maddie, can you say that clearer for me?
Did you get it? Did you listen to what she said? Yes, we will. So you made the motion
I made the motion with a second
with a seconded from,
that we move forward to the question that's on the table. So this vote about moving forward means that we move forward, we vote yes or up it, vote for it, yes or no, requires a 2/3 majority.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
For clarification, Ms. Peta, so that's basically pushing the question on the amendment and the main motion.
Correct.
who was the second? I didn't hear anybody at the mic. Ben Cornell, second from Juneau.
Chairman.
Yes.
Andrew Robert Sitka. I like to call for question.
Question's been called on the motion. So the motion Ms. Pata made, we will vote on the rest of the remaining rules of order as presented, which includes Ms. Dalton's motion and Ms. Pata's motion to adopt the proposed amendments in the rules of election. This will require a supermajority vote, which is 2/3 of the voting body.
Thank you, Daphne Alby, Seattle delegate. I'm asking for clarification from the parliamentarian. If you could also let us know where that is in the Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you.
We also have a comment online that will be read.
Mr. Chair, in my version of Robert's Rules of Order, the 11th edition, this is Rule 16, the previous question.
Motion's been made and seconded, and we will move to the vote on all of the existing amendments and adoption of the proposed rules of election. We will prepare the ballot. This does take a supermajority vote of 2/3 of the voting body. This will seemingly end the debate of the rules of election and with this vote.
Mr. Chair, can we have a 5-minute caucus, please?
Yes, we will have a caucus that we will return to session at 10:06. I do have a clarification from the parliamentarian. I will extend the caucus till 10:10 to allow the parliamentarian to explain the motion on the floor. Thank you.
The motion on the floor is moving the previous question. The previous question is the amendment from Veronica Dalton to change the allocation from 250 to 200. That is the question. That is the only question. That is the immediately preceding question that was moved. And it would take a supermajority to approve.
Here's the explanation on the pending motions. The pending motion will close debate on all pending motions to proceed to voting in the order on pending motions. The first vote, if this is passed, will vote to increase the proposed floor to 3 delegates and eliminate the proposed cap on delegates to 25. The second vote would be to maintain the current allocation formula 200 instead of the proposed 250. The third vote would be able to adopt from Ms. Pata, adopt the pending amendments to the rules of election, which are presented 2B, 3.1, formula to 250, and establish a delegate floor and a delegate ceiling. This vote will allow no more debate on proposed motions.
So that's really the first vote.
That will be the first vote. Will be, yes, Jackie, you're right. The first vote will be to close the debate on all motions pending on the floor, as I have read them. We will prepare the ballot.
Do you need a ballot for that? Can't we just do a voice vote? Never mind, 2/3, never mind.
Is there any objection to this pending motion? Is there any objection? Is there any objection to the pending motion? We will prepare the ballot. The motion was challenged by Daphne Albee, Seattle. We will prepare the ballot. Thank you. I will also recognize that Tasha Hopch from Anchorage objected. I'd like to welcome the delegates are in person for the first time. Would you please stand? This is your first tribal assembly in person. Clarence Peel, Keenan, Robert, Monaco, Vashti. That's who I know. Mary, Karen, Barbara, Sandra, and Kathy. Well, Keenan wanted me to say his name. The votes are in. Yes votes are 69. No votes are 32. The motion passes. We will continue to vote the votes on the floor without debate. Without further amendment or debate.
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to ask for a few minute caucus service so we can get our voting lined up there.
I will allow a caucus. We will return at 10:32. This will allow us to prepare the first ballot, which is a ballot by Mr. Strobel from Seattle.
Put the question back on the vote back on the screen. Please.
Catherine.
I'm not here to debate anything. I just wanted to know if there were any new delegates online so we can recognize them as well.
If there are any delegates online, and I actually had stated their in-person assembly, but we will recognize elected officials to their first tribal assembly online. Welcome. We will now stand in a caucus session until 10:33, 5 minutes. The votes are in. Yes, 61, no, 40. The motion passes. We will prepare the next voting ballot Motion made by Ms. Hatt and Juno to adopt the proposed amendments to the Rule 22B and Rule 3.1. We are preparing the ballot. The votes are in. Yes, 76. No, 24. Motion passes. Rules of election. I'd like to thank the delegation for their patience the last 5 or 6 hours on the floor while we got through the process of the vote. I'd like to mention thanks to the staff on stage with me, Walter Kukesh, Valerie Hellman, Stephanie Nile, and Maddie Soboloff. Let's give them a round of applause. They were an asset today for us. I'd like to call Elections Chair Jan Peel to the stage to assume the chair for elections. Thank you, Jackie.
Prior to moving to the next agenda on the, next item on the agenda, I would like to make a motion.
Okay?
Sometimes I have to be really nice to the chair. He's actually my boss. So, Mr. Chair.
Could you say that one more time? I didn't hear it.
No, sorry.
I didn't catch
Different
that.
form, different form. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion and call for a constitutional convention 2 years from today, or 2 years from now. And the purpose of the constitutional convention will be to address the governance structure of our tribe. This allows us plenty of time to be able to put together a representative body to look at options, to vet them with our community councils prior to coming, and have full transparency, and then proceed with any recommended constitutional changes. I so move.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. President?
can I ask clarification on the motion, because you made a statement about so are you suggesting a committee be established in that?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
So
A
there's a
representative
motion on the
committee.
floor to have a constitutional convention in 2025, preamble of the assembly, form a committee to review the constitutional changes that we'll propose.
Yes, and what they will do is they'll develop options and vet them with all of our community councils prior to the convening.
Mr. Chairman, Joe Williams, second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded for a constitutional
I would do it just real simple. Constitutional convention in 2025 with a constitutional, with a committee formed to review, to develop options.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any objection to the motion?
Question.
Is there any objections to the motion? Hearing none, unanimous consent, motion carries. Constitution Convention 2025. Now I would like to bring to the stage Jan Peel of the Elections Committee. Thank you. Mr.
Mr.
Jack.
Chairman, James Jack Senior from Juneau Delegation. I'd like to ask, request a suspension of the rules to make an announcement, please.
That's allowed?
Pastor Bennett and I would like to thank the delegation and the audience back there for their generous contributions. The contributions came up to over $1,400. So we really appreciate the contribution because it'll take a great burden, financial burden off of Jerry and his family to take his wife to her final resting place in Cake. Good as cheese.
I want to say, my son's still here, Steve. My sister, you'll come up by us. Or family, any other family. Arlene, my wife went to be with the Lord. On January 31. She loved every one of you for what you've done for her. And today we want to extend our love to each and every one of you for your offering, your love offering today. She was already cremated and wanted to be home. And our children wanted to take her home on her birthday, which is May 23rd. So, Cake, if you'll help us arrange on your side of it. I'm a retired pastor, and I want to say, men, every time we quote the scripture, husband, love your wife, we always come up with the other one, wife, submit yourself to your own husband. But I want to say to each and every one of you today, love one another. It's the greatest commandment in the Bible. What we're doing here today in our convention has always been the way it went years and years ago with our fathers, our grandfathers. They had their heart meetings together, but the hurt, if any, never went out the doorway. And we want it that way all the time, to leave an example for our younger people. The love that you show is far greater than I could ever explain it. And I would say God's love is greater, which it is, but the way you express it today, Ganochish. And I thank God just to be among you. And how many of you lost loved ones in the past 3 years? Can I see your hand real high? Quite a few of us. And I pray today you'll feel the healing and the love that's here today. Love is greater than hurt. And if there's someone you've never, ever, ever forgiven, I encourage you to go forgive and forget and leave it there. My dad and my son used to tell us all the time, whenever opposition came over, Dad, just leave it there. Let it go by. So to every one of you, thank you so much. Brother James has been close to me for 35 years that we've been here or so. And Sister Ella standing up behind me. We call her our boss. When we say we're going to retire, she always say 1 more year. And that's how we have to be to each other. Brother Bill, I've always appreciated your family, your mom. She's always gave us scriptures through these meetings that we had. So every one of us, we look to the Lord. If it's okay with you, I'd like to pray with all of you. And I ask you to join hands with the person next to you. We're all hurting, I know that. Heavenly Father, we come today in the name that's above every name, your Son, Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And Lord, you told us in John 14, verse number 2 and 3, you said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. Father, we know where our loved ones have gone as we served you on this earth today. I pray you'll touch every individual here that lost a loved one, that, Lord, they'll feel the inner peace and the love of God to be shed abroad their heart by the precious Holy Spirit. Bless them, Lord, and Lord, our leaders, put your hand on them, guide everything they do that will support it. I thank you for them today, Father, in Jesus' name. In Jesus' precious name, Father. Amen. Thank you again.
Gonna cheese to cut your hands and get this to you. And how to our Haida brothers and sisters. And I don't know the word for Simsian, but Simsian, well, it's so gonna cheese.
I wasn't here.
Clinton Cook, if I could just make one quick comment. I just want to thank you and your staff. You guys did an excellent job up there. And the reason I tabled it last night and calling for basically orders of the day is I just think you guys are all working hard. And I hope everybody here leave it on like the basketball court. Leave it in this room. Thank you for doing a good job.
Thank you, Clinton. That was good. I would like to commend all of you for a job well done today. Even though it's hard, this is what our ancestors fought for. And you know, they're no different than us. They would have been fighting tooth and nail, and at the end of it, we still love each other because we're here for one reason, and that is to serve the rest of our membership. So gonna cheers to all of you. Hopefully ours is going to be easy. And if you all cooperate, we'll be done in minutes. We will be voting on the associate judge and the emerging leader. With the associate judge, we'll give you the total amount of votes that that are registered, the total amount of votes of people who did vote, and how much is needed to win. With the emerging leader, you only get the winner. Just for logistics, we need a couple of minutes. Anybody have any introductions they want to do?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Catherine.
Catherine, Seattle delegate. I want to shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. Alberta Aspen, who lives in Lacey and watching us online.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Jackie Peta from Juneau Delegate. I'd like to give a shout out to my daughter Jamie Gomez, who has been watching most, and usually never misses an assembly, has been watching from Washington, D.C. So I'd like to give her a shout out. And I'd also like to recognize my son, Chatham Timothy, who's now working here for the tribe, Shawklau Ish. And I just want to say how grateful I am that the tribe had a job that brought him home. From a mom's heart, thank you, Ganesh Chish.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I would like to once again introduce our inland Tlingit relatives, if they could stand, please. And Ben joins me in doing that. And Tom Gamble from Sitka. Tom, if you could wave. We have Tom Gamble also, who is here from Sitka. Thank you.
Ben Cornell, Juneau Delegate. I'd like to say hi to all my friends out there. All two of you.
Hi, Ben.
But I did want to acknowledge my relatives out there. Bob Sams, Cecilia Lopez, Nathan Lopez, can you please stand? Andy Hope, can you stand? Be recognized. Andy. Andrew Roberts. I just want to say thank you for coming and working for the tribe. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could cut line. It's not very often that we have folks in town of the caliber that we do today, but I want to take a moment, if I can, and ask us to recognize master artist, living legend, Robert Davidson, and coming forward, David Boxley. And I want to say, and it's well known for the Haida people, and especially those in Canada, the government had really pushed down potlatches and couldn't carry on our customary ways. Robert Davidson may be the man who single-handedly brought that back when he carved a pole at a very young age. And on behalf of the Tlingit and Haida, I want to recognize these two gentlemen, Robert Davidson and David Boxley, who have contributed to our culture in ways so many will never even understand. And so I think if we could all just stand and recognize these two men. Tomorrow, SHI is hosting an event where 10 of 30 totem poles are being raised, and many of these men students, apprentices, who are now entering into that era of masters themselves, are raising poles, and I think it's a great honor that their mentors come to witness and celebrate. So it's a great honor to have them in our home.
I did want to make note, we were putting, we had to get some stuff situated here, and we also had to get our own laptops so we could vote for the associate judge. So right now, that's all we're waiting on, which is why I opened it up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mom. I'm Kara, Seattle delegate. I wanted to introduce my daughter, Erica. Many of you have seen her on the floor. She's a Washington chapter youth ambassador, and this is her first assembly. But I'd also just like to make note that she is the 4th generation Clinton Haida delegate. My grandmother, Maxine, my mom's mother, was also a delegate here many years ago. My mother, myself, and then my daughter. Very proud of that. It's my mom's dream living. She taught us that. She raised us with the words saying, if you don't do it, who will? And Mom, here we are. With my daughter, there's my daughter standing right there, Erica.
This is a proud grandma.
And one more quick note, since they walked in and got introduced, I would like to say thank you to Uncle Robert Davidson. He was very instrumental in us as a dance group forming down in Seattle many, many years ago. We were originally Haida Heritage, and he worked with us, Fred and Marion and my parents, to teach us which songs we could sing, and we've been singing and dancing since. So big hawa to Robert Davidson too.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you, Madam Chair.
Yes, go
I would
ahead.
just like to ask for the privilege of the floor to, as Giljuice is not a delegate, Chief Justice Giljuice, she would like to make a presentation, if that's okay with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of myself, the Chief Justice for Tlingit and Haida, and my Associate Justices, but for all of those of us who work hard to bring up our young leaders, the Floyd Kukash Award went out yesterday for subsistence, and my nephew Keenan was awarded that. This is years in the making. This is what our future is about, and all you people online that aren't present here, I hope you can feel the love and the strength. I'm just giving him a little reminder when he received this gift, and to share it in a good way, and our intentions are to continue to hold him up, because that's what we are supposed to do. So Keenan, we love you. Keep doing good things. Kinlat ista. I love you. Here you go, baby. I don't know if it's gonna, I'll open it up. There you go. There you go. Love you, baby.
My head's just
Yeah.
big enough to let it fit.
I want to take this time to recognize Tommy G. Tommy Gamble from Sitka, former delegate. And if you've received hearing aids, some of them probably came from Tommy G, and he also puts a lot into Culture Camp, puts into our youth, not only their skills in basketball at Manachcum High School, but also their personal development and who they are, and building their confidence as an individual. Gunixchish.
Okay, we will take 3 more, and the ballots are ready, so we have to get down to business. So go ahead.
Madam Chair, Paul Marks, Juneau delegate. I'd like to ask privilege of the floor for our inland Tlinkits. Is that okay?
For what?
for our inland relatives to speak to us?
We have to get down to the business of voting right now. Once we're finished with voting, we could do it then, or you could ask the current chair.
Okay, Belchis.
Yes.
Jim Price, Seattle. I'd like to make a concession speech for Seattle. We lost today. We apologize if we offended anybody, but we were only speaking up for, as representatives of our people. And our people are your people. You know, Seattle and San Francisco were taken into the TNH in the A and B. That's where they came into this body. We are all one people. We're fighting for the same thing. The U.S. government made the laws that the jurisdiction is Alaska, not this organization. They didn't write us out. The government did that. All we wanted is representation here. Now, I want to thank President Richard and the executive body for what they have been doing for Seattle, and also trying to get us into their programs through lobbying the government. They have been working very hard in trying to get us included, like you're included in administration. Hope that happens someday. But please don't take it against our people. They're your family. You know, they moved away from the villages just like they moved to Juneau for economic reasons. They moved to Seattle for economic reasons. If you have jobs for them, they would love to come back to your home and be with family. Believe me, these people love their family and they miss Alaska. They want to come back just as much as you love Alaska. This is their home. They love it. They love the fish. When I was a kid, I was tired of eating fish, but now I crave it, and it's a treat for me to get fish. And I know it's a treat for all our people down there to get fish. So please take our apology for taking up so much time during this assembly. We're just trying to protect what we did have, and that is a vote at the assembly trying to get rights for our people down in Seattle, San Francisco, throughout the for 48 states down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Vice President Micklin would like to say something.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to introduce my wife, Linda Kanchawu.
Okay. Hi, Linda.
Hey, hello from California.
Okay, we will now get down. We are ready to vote. We are voting on the associate judge. The ballots are ready. Refresh your screen. This is going to be the one time that I will wait another minute. When we get down to the business of voting, we have had instances when we went electronic that you are not allowed to leave the floor, and we may need to do that again. This is one of the reasons we're here, is to do the voting, to elect right now our judge. And I got a lot of flack for not letting the elders leave. As you can see, I've got a thick skin. They don't call me bossy for nothing. Right, Mr. President? Okay, has everyone online voted? Has anyone not voted? Has anyone not voted? Last chance, has anyone not voted? Seeing no hands, ballot is closed. This is actually quite painless and speedy. If you guys remember, there was a time when Jason would have to escort us out of the room upstairs and lock the doors. And it was paper ballots. And we had to count 1, 2, 3, 4, tally. So we've come a long way. I can read it from here. Yeah. Okay. Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska Election Committee hereby certifies that the records reflected on the Simply Voting electronic voting report are accurate, that all delegates have been furnished one ballot for each position via an elector ID and password to the Simply Voting application, and that all ballots and persons voting online are certified. We further certify the accuracy of the electronic tally sheet and declare the election by majority vote for the position of associate judge. Total ballots cast 102, majority needed 52. Aurora Lair is the new associate, or she's the old new associate, or the new old, whichever way you want to look at it. Congratulations, Aurora.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Request privilege of the floor to allow our newly elected, re-elected Associate Justice
You
to
have a
speak.
couple of minutes
Thank you.
to say how
Madam
proud
Chair?
you
And
are.
this is,
Can I suggest that the delegate from Seattle move to accept the results?
thank you, sir. Daphne Albee, Seattle delegate, move to accept the results for Associate Justice. Ballot? Second. Thank you.
With no objection? No objection. So ordered. Yes.
Through the chair, thank you very much. Gunakchish, Hawa, mahalo, everybody. Sorry, I really hate having my back to anybody. It's really awkward. So just wanted to say thank you very much. I really appreciate your faith in me to be able to continue to serve on our Supreme Court. And please come chat with me about what your vision is for our court system. I think it's really important. I know we've had conversations started with Executive Council, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to keep that going through Office of the President and my fellow justices. So mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the assembly.
Congratulations. We're getting the ballots ready right now for the emerging leader. Okay, the ballots are ready. The ballots are ready and the ballots are now open. And you are voting for one for the emerging leader. The Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska Election Committee hereby certifies that the records reflected on the Simply Voting electronic voting report are accurate, that all delegates have been furnished one ballot for each position via an elector ID and password to the Simply Voting application, and that all ballots and persons voting online are certified. We certify the accuracy of the electronic tally sheet and declare the election by plurality vote for the position of the emerging leader. The new emerging leader is Lauren Framke. Yes, Keenan.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Keenan Sanderson, delegate from Ketchikan. I move to accept the results for emerging leader by unanimous consent.
It's been moved with no objection. No objection. So ordered. Congratulations, Lauren.
Madam Chair, Barbara Dude, Juneau delegate. I would like to ask suspension of the rules to allow Lauren Framke to speak.
Yeah.
I would also like to ask suspension of the rules after she's done speaking to allow her to sit with the Juneau delegation.
It has been requested. Any objection? No objection, so ordered. Go ahead, Lauren.
Ganashchi Shaua Hatala'is Dalang Eish Undi Hungolgan Deep Gudanite Login. Good people, I'm honored with your presence. I'm so happy and I'm so honored that you elected me as emerging leader. Ganashchi Shaua.
Okay, elections are over. I will return the mic to our Vice President. And I would like to thank our election committee. This is a job that you really have to watch what you do here. We can't wink at you and let you know what we're thinking because we're taking care of your votes. So if it seems like we might get a little standoffish and I might get a little bossy, there's a reason for it.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Carrie with the Ketchikan delegation requesting permission for my son Randy Estrin, candidate for emerging leader, to speak.
You want, okay, yes.
I'd just like to say thank you for everyone's consideration for their votes. It was an honor and a pleasure to speak in front of everyone. And I also want to congratulate the new emerging leader as well. I hope this year is full of great experiences and you enjoy it as well. And again, Ganachis, and thank you to everyone for hearing my speech and for the consideration as well.
Yes, Rob.
Yes, thank you, boss. Anyway, Rob Sanderson, Ketchikan delegate. Congratulations to Lauren and to all those who put their name in the hat. It's not easy. Speaking with my son, he didn't make it on his first try. So to those that did not make it, please don't let this be a discouragement, but something to empower you to come forward and, continue to fight. I've been on both sides and I know the feeling, so I wanted to get up here and let them know that continue to put your name in, and that day will come. So Congratulations again, and congratulations to all the candidates that put their name in. You are appreciated, and so don't let this discourage you. Keep coming back. Thank you.
Thank you for those words. Yes,
Ben
Ben.
Cornell, Juneau.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for your many years of service, and you're still the boss. And
Thank you.
one last question. Did that wink at the wharf mean nothing then?
All right. I now succeed the election committee.
I've asked the chairman if I could have privilege of the floor because I want to share something while we still have her family here. Can Valerie Hillman come up with me? I see my dear Lillian Hillman here, her son John and his wife Marilyn. I really think, you know, when we have special achievements, we got to take time and recognize them. And today we do have cake. We're going to have cake here to honor and recognize Teresa and her retirement and over her 20 years of service. But in December, Valerie Hillman will have been with the tribe as an employee for 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Auntie.
She's really mad at me right now. That smile doesn't show it. You know, we had a spirited debate today, and it comes over growth. And that's ironic in some ways, but we're at over 35,000 citizens. I think under Val's time with the tribe, she's probably been responsible for 15 to 20,000 of those enrollees. I would be remiss, and you know I like the microphone when I get it, but I'd be remiss if I didn't point out in my 9 years as the president of the tribe, Val is also not only in charge of enrollment, but program compliance. Any complaint, internal or external, had been processed through her and her team. And I quickly came to appreciate her steadfast work ethic. She would always bring up, I was trained by Judy George. This is how you're going to do it. And if you knew Judy, you know that means something. But sometimes in any organization, but with our tribe, sometimes there's some good days and some bad days. Val's there on the good days, but more importantly to me, she was there on some of the hard days to examine some of the things that needed to be. And she did it, and her team would always do it with just the most professionalism. And I think she'll tell you, I made no secret, she's just one of my trusted confidants because she's so reasoned and she doesn't have these highs and lows. She's steadfast, moves forward, and I could always trust her advice was for the betterment of the tribe. And one thing I've always asked, I don't want any of my staff to be loyal to me. I want them to be loyal to the tribe. And I think with Val, I get both the loyalty to the tribe first, but I know a friendship and loyalty with me. And I just want to say to her that it has been a complete honor to work with somebody like her, of her character. She lives by our tribal values. Anybody that knows her mom Lillian, knew her dad Ernie, knows she was raised right with our values at her core. So Val, thank you. Gonna Chief Hawa. Speech.
Thank you. I also would like to introduce my sister. Veronica Dalton is from Hoona. My sister-in-law, Grace Villarreal. As I listened to everybody yesterday, and I thought, geez, you know, this is you know, I still got a few years here, and I'm going to be enrolling quite a few more. So I'm thinking, boy, I've created a ruckus here by all these numbers, and I do plan to increase. This last year, and you'll hear in Ella's report, we've enrolled over 2,000 people for the year 2022. So it keeps growing, and I appreciate President Peterson. Like he said, I was trained by Judy George, Evelyn Myers, and President Thomas. I've worked with him for over 20 plus years, and President Martin, I've worked with him as well. Rayanne Holmes had asked me, gee, how many changes have you had? And I was counting, and that's when I, you know, and Rosemary Neese in my office kind of did some history checking, and it was over 15,000 that I have since my tenure. But I've been here quite a while, so I do plan to enroll more. And I don't know if Alice Bagoyo is here, but she and I are at the 40-year mark. I don't know, hers is a little bit behind me on the months, but I do want to acknowledge that as well, that she's at the 40 years. So we do have longevity, and I appreciate, you know, President Peterson acknowledging. I'm not sure, probably Stephanie Nyland is responsible for this as well, but I do thank you guys. I don't like to speak, but I don't even know why I'm talking right now, but thank you.
So her work anniversary. So Val's work anniversary is in December, and I want to point out when she started, I would have been 7 years old. And I was standing next to her, and I'm like, how in the hell do I look so much older than her?
Hi, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if I can have the privilege of the floor.
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. Earlier, we had this gentleman who asked one of the tribal leaders to come up and speak, and is this a good time for them to come and speak for, what's it? Yeah, from the Taku tribe.
I will allow it now so everybody can finish eating before our credentials report.
Well, hello, brothers and sisters. My Crow leader here is a little younger than I am, so I'd like to let him go ahead and give him the big honor of let him speak first.
Well, I'm really honored to be here, to be on our sisters and brothers' territory. Like we always spoke all for the 3 days here on how we're supposed to be taking care of our land for our younger generation. This is the place to do it all. This is the place of gathering information on making sure we pass this down. This is very important for us on our territory, because on how the non-native government has put their borders up. You know, those borders are not our borders. Those borders are there for their intention to take our territory away from us slowly, you know. And I'm really honored to be here because I'm also a commercial fisherman on our territory. I catch food fish for our territory, our people. I've been down on the river for about 44 years. I too suffer with arthritis in my knees and my hands, but our addiction to go to our land, to be on our territory, is very important. You know, that in itself is an addiction, to be on our territory and watch how people express themselves when they're either pulling a fish in or pulling an empty net in, you know. But the best thing is to make sure that our people are getting subsistent food fishing. You know, that's the most important thing that we pass on. I see a lot of people that are raffling off their salmons too, and I hope all them names in there are just Vernon Williams. No, you know, we always got to have a little humor in our culture because that again is who we are. That's how we identify who we are on both sides. You know, this is what gives us strength. This is what gives our younger generation to come up and say, I want to be like the person that's up here. You know, I'm trying to do the similar things as you guys are doing here in your territory. You know, this is very important because back home where we're from, we're only about 400 people in our nation that lives there. You know, we do have more people that live abroad, but we're in the same situation as you guys here, is how to draw them back to our territory, you know, to give them the proper employment that they need so they can stay there and bring their family up, you know. We are doing these things, but we come here to watch how you guys conduct yourselves at these kind of forums, so we could go back home and do the similar things to draw the people back. Because again, we do need them here just as much as you guys. I have been coming here for a lot of celebrations and Juno celebrations. The people that I fish with have also brought king salmon here for your celebrations. And I do try to get them to be acknowledged just as well as myself. Just because I got the boats in the camp, I do need people to participate on catching this fish and bringing it down here, because leaving the Taku with a little 16-foot riverboat is pretty challenging sometimes. You know, Mother Nature, she's in charge. And when it gets rough, it's very challenging. And again, I've got to show my leadership respect too, because we have a new leadership here in our nation, and the majority, they're all females. You know, I respect them. I respect them because the females are the ones that give life. The elder females, our matriarchs, are the ones that try to give us the proper information on how we pass names down, on how we conduct things in those ways. And again, when we give our females the proper respect, it only makes us stronger as a nation. So again, with all that, I do got to pass it down to my junior uncle here that just is starting to learn on how to speak out thoroughly, because again, we need all of our younger people to come up here and take our places eventually. And we want to make sure they do it in a respectful way. So I was really honored on how you guys conducted yourself here, and with a lot of respect. You see that. I seen it and I'm a witness of it. So again, I want to say goodness cheese.
Kiruda is my native name. James Williams is my English name. I myself say we are one. As one nation, we can be really powerful. We just got to do it. I do not want to be welcome to Juneau. I want to be welcomed home to our land. That's where we are, all as one. Because to me, as long as we are one, we can become a powerful nation. We'll make that government shake in their knees. So I mean, it's all happening and it's coming to being. And I'm glad that we are here today to talk to you guys and let you know how we feel. We are one and will always be one. It's no more, you're from Juneau, I'm from Athol. No, we're from the same country. All of us. So to me, I'm happy to be here. You guys have gave us a lot of knowledge on how our culture works, because being in residential school, it was wiped away from me. And I'm slowly getting back to where I want to be, that Indian I was. Because it takes a lot, and I still got a long journey to go yet on learning how to be who I am. And I think when an elder pointed right at me and said, "Only you can fix that residential school," I went away mad, crying, disgusted. The whole world was against me. But when I slept with it, eat with it, walked with it, talked to it, it was true. Only me could fix that. And once we get there, we got to learn to forgive. No matter how hard we were treated, sexually abused, beaten, whatever. We got to learn to forgive, because if we don't, we'll always carry it inside of us. And that little sore will grow again. So we have to try to get over the residential school stuff. It's our history now. And we can't keep bringing it back, because that's going to hurt. And that's what the elders told me. And I want to pass that on to everybody else. That this is what we're looking forward to. Be together. Hold one another up. The elders used to tell me, we held everybody up the same. Nobody was, it didn't matter whether you were chief or the head of it, the whole outfit. We held you all up the same. And that's where we got to be. For what little I've learned from my culture, from the elders that have talked to me. We are here. Listen to one another. Nobody's got a bad thing to say, or hopefully not. But thank you for letting us speak for a little bit, and I hope we leave all in good partners.
Ganachis, everybody. I am the newest elected spokesperson for the Taku River Tlingit First Nation. I am the female leadership that our Wolf and Crow leader are speaking to. I'm honored to be here, and we are more than thrilled to participate in this General Assembly. We are we're stronger together, and that's what we've come down to see, how our brothers and sisters conduct their business and how we can strengthen ours, and also to take away some good lessons and teachings that could support our nation as a whole. I believe as well that when we start erasing those borders that divided us from the beginning, we become a stronger nation as a whole. I also believe that that our ancestors are really here to help us and hold us up. And I'm just thankful to be welcomed, and we always are, and you're also welcome to our territory. I would like to just take the time to say thank you. Thank you for welcoming us and having us here. We're all Tlingit. Doesn't matter where we came from, and the borders were put there not by us. I'd like to hand it over to our cultural leader, because he does want to formally invite everybody as well, and maybe he did yesterday as well, to our Hakusti. But for the ones that weren't here yesterday, I just want to let him invite you to our Hakusti this coming summer. We haven't had it in our traditional territory within Atlan, BC for the last 25 years, so it is a big deal for us. Yeah. And I believe and it's our Dakha Nation. So what that means is the inland Tlingit and a coastal Tlingit ourselves coming together as Tlingit people as one. So it normally goes between, it was just inland Tlingit where it was between Carcross and Teslin, and we started hosting it as coastal inland Tlingit as well. So this is the first year in many years because of well, for whatever reason, but I'm grateful to it to have come back to our community to be hosted. And I'm just so very thankful that Wayne had stepped up, Wayne Carlick, our cultural coordinator, to pull it together for this year. And we're looking forward to having you there. We've got many ministers and premiers coming up from different territories in the Yukon Territory and BC. So thank you for hosting us, and it was a wonderful treat to be here, and so beautiful and sunny. We left with 6 inches of snow on the ground. So thank you.
Jake jaksatini. Janakan yes, you do a sock. Atlan ayahat. It warms my heart to see so many of you here. It warms my heart to see how you hold each other up in so much tough decisions that you have to make. We learn from that. We learn how you do your business so that we can do our business too when we go home. It's been a tough road for many of us because of the colonization, residential school teachings. And years ago, as I mentioned yesterday, when I first came to Juneau to watch the dancing and the singing, and I went home and I said, my elders need to come to see celebration. They need to see this because it's going to heal us. And since then, we've been journeying and coming and being a part of celebration with our dance group. And now we are bringing our language back. We have 3, actually 5 now, young ladies who are teaching the language in our community. Children of the Taku is the name of their organization. It's a beautiful organization where they teach our language to our young people and to young moms, mostly because we don't teach to the children anymore as much anymore because it's the responsibility of the adults to give the language to the children. And so that's important. We will continue learning from all of you and continue coming here for celebration. Please come and join us inland as well. Hakusti, our way of life. And that celebration is getting bigger and bigger as well. It's over 10 years old now and growing. And this is our first chance of getting it. It's actually 20 years, but it's 10 years because it's every odd year to the celebration is every even year here in Juneau. And so we learn from you. We learn how beautiful our dancing and our singing and our language is and our culture is, the healing part of it. And we enjoy that. We enjoy watching our people heal from the colonization and the destruction of our culture. And we are getting stronger because of what you guys do here. Gonna cheese.
I failed to recognize my family up the Taku, the Young AD, and the Crow. Wayne Carlick and I've known each other for at least 22 years, and I'm in constant communication with them and James Williams as well. They're young AD, they are family. There are no borders, they are family. And I will always support them. I just wanted to. But thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, bit to your right.
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Are you asking for privilege of the
Yes,
floor?
exactly,
Okay.
sir. Again, as I said yesterday, we want to recognize our elected folks up on the Hill when they come and spend time with us, because it's them acknowledging our governance and our place. And Bill and Tasha here with me, because I want to introduce State Senator Forrest Dunbar, who's here. You might recognize him from the best campaign slogan ever, Run, Forrest, Run. But he's been a friend and ally to our community, and especially those in Anchorage, for quite a number of years. And every time we've had events in Anchorage standing up for subsistence, standing up for our rights, Forrest is always there. So I just want to recognize him for that and let him. And Steve Stein.
Thank you. Thank you, President Peterson, and thank you for giving me this special privilege of the floor. As President Peterson said, I represent a portion of Anchorage in the state Senate, but I grew up in Eagle on the Yukon, in Han Gwich'in country, and then in Cordova on Prince William Sound, home of EX and of course many Tlinkits as well. I want to thank you for allowing the state legislature to meet on your lands and for inviting me here today. There's a lot of really important issues that I know that we are working on, that you are working on, and I hope that we can continue to work together as sovereign governments. Thank you very much. Go on, Ashish.
Thank you for your comments with the state working with tribes. That means a lot. Quick note, we will not be adopting the budget that passed yesterday, so that will be off of the agenda. Next up, I would like to invite Ella Bennett with the Enrollment Committee report to the stage. I have a delegate at the mic. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could I get a suspension of the rule for my nephew to give a response to the Canadians?
Yes, you may.
Philip Cadiente.
I'd like to respond to my uncle's people, my grandfather's people of the Taku Kwan. There's a story behind this Tana right here. It's a copy shield, and it has a wolf on it. People keep asking me what the wolf is. My grandfather gave it to me and said, wherever you go, wear this, our people will recognize you, the Taku Kwan. And the shield to protect me, my grandfather's people. This is how our Tlingit people are. We protect our grandchildren. And this is why I'm speaking now, to respond to the Raven leader that spoke earlier. They went up to see the Pope in Italy, I believe, and they saw the Pope to talk about the role of the church in the missionary schools. There was mass graves that were found in Canada of children. And this is why it's important. My grandfather's people, they feel really sad, and this is why their grandchildren will talk about it, to lift them up and speak for them. This is why they put the Tana on me, so that I uplift my grandfather's people, and they'll always be there to protect me. So this is why I'm speaking now. This is what their Hakusti'i is about, is bringing the language and culture back. Because they're Taku Tlinkits. We had a Taku village in Douglas Island. If you know anything about Douglas Island, there was a village there that was burnt down in the 60s by the mine. And that's why we raised a Yunyadi pole, a Taku Kwan pole. There's also a Raven pole there. If you go there, the school, Gastineau School, there was 2 graves that were unearthed when they were doing the renovation of the school. That school was built on their graves, our grandfathers' graves. If you go drive to Douglas, there's a graveyard on the right side, there's a graveyard on the left side, and there's a road in the middle of it. That is a mass grave right there of our people. Most of Douglas is our graves. And as I'm troubled to speak of this because these are my grandfather's people, and I hurt for them. And that's why I'm speaking about this now, because the Hakusti'i is about bringing it back to the Taku Kwan. And this is why they invited you up there, because this is how our people were. We invited you guys up, and this is why they invited you. Sheesh.
Well, good afternoon again. It's Dayak calling. My name is Vernon Williams. Yes, that's true that the 2 clan leaders have gone over to Rome to visit with the Pope to try to deal with the missing bodies that were found at the residential school. We are wearing orange T-shirts or sweaters, or a beaded button that you put on your vest to represent on what we're trying to address with the Catholic Church. You know, these are the things that we got to be really lucky that there's a lot of us that are survivors. I heard over the 3 days that we talked about on how much we've been treated and the way we've been put aside on the side for a while. And we're still here. We're all here. It doesn't matter on how much blood you got in you. It's on who we are as Tlingits and Haida. You know, those are the people that we all represent. You know, and we need to know those things. And if we could pass that strong information down to the younger generation, they're going to know that I was a witness at one time doing these things. I don't ever want to be able to be challenged by a young individual on saying, where were you when you could have been here doing these things? Especially as a leader, you know, because again, being a leader, we always got to show the due diligence of how do we give back that respect to the respect that you guys are giving us. By doing that is coming up here and voicing our opinions, and by letting you guys know that we're hearing you. You know, we're already witnessing what you guys did. Now we can go back home and let our people know what's happening, even though it's a small nation where we're from. But we are strong. I traveled the Taku Inlet quite a bit, and Phil says he witnesses me going by him every now and then in our little riverboats. You know, again, it's challenging to be on our territory, but to pass that legacy down, it takes all of us as a whole. And also, we are selling some raffle tickets over there to help our brother here out on achieving his goals. And this is how we try to work together. You know, it's not the money that you're supposed to be making. It's the respect that we're doing it for. And the way he spoke about what he wants to do, well, I want to help him to achieve that while I'm here. You know, same with if you come up to Auckland, you're going to be witnessing what we do up there on the inland Tlingits with our brothers and sisters from Carcross and Teslin. They're all going to be here to watch how we gather at these ceremonies. So again, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Kiruda, I asked David Cassidy when he was alive, I asked him what did my name mean because it was a name that was almost lost. He told me the next day that I am a leader of the pod, which gave me a lot of courage because I did not know what my name meant at the time. But anyway, about the Pope's visit, we went there. The first thing I did, I walked into the terminal. The first lady I saw, I gave her a big hug. Didn't even know her from a hole in the ground. I gave her a big hug and I said, I come to walk on your land to go visit the Pope. Is that all right? She said, what did you walk? Why did you walk over? I said, I didn't walk over, but I flew over. And I said, I'm walking on your land, but I'm asking permission to go and talk to the Pope on your land. To me, that's respect for somebody else's territory. And I think we all do it in our own way. But with the Pope, when I heard his apology, I was excited, happy. After I left Rome, I got back home because he was coming back to Canada to do the same thing again, to apologize. He apologized, and I got thinking about that apology. It's easy to say, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I hurt you. There was no action to it. So that apology to me doesn't mean a damn thing to me. When you start showing action, then it's going to mean something. But right now, I think we wasted our time going to get that apology. That's my honest feeling, my only feeling. I don't know how Vernon feels, but that's how I feel. There's no action to it to say, well, I'm going to teach you your culture back, or give you money to get your culture back, or a cultural center, or whatever. Because to me, that'll then mean something to me, that I can start feeling healing. Like I said, I've worked with myself and put the residential school behind me, because that's all history now. I'm ready to forgive the people that have hurt me, that have raped me, that have beaten me, that have pointed at me and said, you're just a damn brown kid, you don't know a damn thing. Them words always stick with me. But I'm ready to forgive and say, because when the elders tell me to forgive, then you're going to really start healing. Easy to say I'm sorry, harder to show action. So that's where I am at with my visit with that wonderful Pope. Thank you muchly for listening.
I would now like to invite Ella Bennett to the floor, chair. Also, a quick note, we have a Chevy SUV, white in color, license plate HAX-801 that is blocking the exit in the parking lot. If that is your vehicle, it has asked to be moved, or Richard will tow it away. Yeah. I have a Toyota. Okay, Ella Bennett.
Good afternoon. My name is Ella Bennett. I never introduce myself. I just usually come up and read. But I'm Tlingit, and I'm from Angoon. And I kept thinking of my father when they talk about Juno. My father was born here, and I don't think he was ever privileged to be introduced as, Ak Kwan. I thought that, well, first of all, sorry, I'm going like all the guys, just have all kinds of stuff to talk about. And my daughter Rose Westica, she worked for 23 years in the office here. And she's down in Spokane now. Hi, Rose. She's somewhere out there. And I have a daughter named Sylvia. Sylvia also is married to David, and they watch this on TV. So sometimes they ask me, Mom, how come you don't mention our names? So I did. I have a lot of witnesses to that. Okay. You can hear me okay, right? I see about 5 people that could hear me. Anyway, let me read you some of the history of this. It's on enrollment. And I just wanted to thank you all for honoring Valerie. She's a hard worker. I couldn't believe 20 years. She looks like she's still a teenager, right? Anyway, I see a lot of people here. I've been facing this way, but they're all back there. We're glad that you guys come. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to start on this really. The Word of God says you have to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. So that's why a lot of you are finding yourself here. You're able to encourage young people to move forward. Never give up. Don't ever let anyone put you down. Okay, now I'm going to read. Tribal Assembly, Tribal Enrollment Report. The Program Compliance Department administers the Tribal Enrollment Program. They process enrollment applications, certify tribal citizens, and are responsible for tribal enrollment records. The department provides technical assistance to Tlingit organization. It's the Tlingit Reorganization Act, IRA, Tribe on Enrollment and Tribal Elections upon request. Tribal Enrollment Committee. The Tribal Enrollment Committee is standing committee consists of 9 delegates from various communities. They're appointed by Tlingit Haida president. Their service held 4 of site enrollment meetings, worked with tribes general council and interpreting Title 15 statute. Tribal enrollment authorized certifications on new tribal citizens and make corrections to tribe citizen records. These additional enrollment committee members joined the enrollment committee and began their service at the December 2022 meeting. The committee approved 2,099 enrollment applications and approved and relinquished all five relinquishment requests. They approved 10 blood quantum corrections. There was no disenrollment actions taken. 2022 accomplishments. 2022 and for all tribal enrollment application documents are scanned and data entered into the electronic data system, All income and mail is scanned for our records management. This is a mechanism for staff and retrieve them when a client calls to inquire on the status of their enrollment records. You know, trust me, the phones are busy almost all day. A small proceedings of the paper files were on condition a small percentage of paper files were reconditioned with updated labels. There's a lot of records up there and they're being protected. All previous enrollment certification lists and minutes were scanned and digital archived. Program compliance hired 3 additional staff to help address the backlog in enrollment. Currently, we are 75% up to date. Statistic information, 2,099 new tribal citizens for 2022. 3,874 total new tribal citizens from 2020 through 2022. Approximate IDs issued, new and reprinted cards, 788. Total enrollment as of 4/17/23 was 35,639. This report was prepared by Valerie. Valerie's here and there and everywhere. She does a lot of work, and I'm glad that she was made. Well, I'm glad that now each one of you know what she's done. And she never turns anyone down, especially me. She helps me so much. If you have any questions for Valerie, and I was going to enjoy making the people known that work with me when we're looking at all the records. So, but if you have any questions, I have Valerie right by my side. So that's a lot of people, all right. I remember when it was. So, thank you for listening. Sorry. It's funny when you start getting old and our eyes get worse and our voice gets lower. But for each one of us, I have learned respect for so many of you through this convention. You know, so just think what would happen if we all worked together. I see that under our president. He just encouraged me, and I hope someday I can help encourage other people. Thank you. Sorry for my voice, but it's going to be better next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. I'd just like to give a few names here for the Tribal Enrollment Committee. Ella Bennett, Laverne Weiss, Stephanie Rainwater, Judy Helgeson, Frank Wright, Patricia Alexander, Paul Marks II, Louise Kadinger, and Mary Edenshaw. Thank you for your work in enrolling our tribal citizens. I'd also like to extend gratitude to the program compliance staff, Valerie Hillman, Stephanie Nyland, Kayla Albrecht, Rosemary Neese, Helen McCoy, Sarah White, Marilyn Jocelyn. Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to accept the enrollment committee report. James Jack Sr. made the motion. Seconded Ben Cornell. I will not have you go to the mic. Any objection? Hearing none. Enrollment report passes. Once again, I'd like to thank you. I thought I was done after the little bit of the fireworks this morning, but I'm not. I'd actually like to entertain a 15-minute break and come back at 1. And I will pass the chair off to Rob Sanderson Jr. from here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.